Maybe this is me being an old guy, but I don't think that there's anything that should even be slightly controversial. Fundamental values are always going to be true. And you have the privilege, I would argue, of being coached by a Tom Izzo or a Danny Hurley. You need to listen to what they have to say. And if they're correcting you to make you better. I would send any son of mine, if I had one, to go play for Tom Izzo.
But I just want to know what this concept is that you all have, or anybody has, that a kid can do the same thing wrong 50 times and you're supposed to say, geez, Johnny, hey, Mark, do a better job on the mic next time, huh? You just screwed up 15 times.
In a row, Coach.
Yeah, I know. I'd yank you for that, but I don't understand that concept, you know. It never used to be the way. I'm so blessed that I've had so many veteran guys that have come back, you know, and when I first started coaching, it was Magic talking about his experience in pro ball, you know, Pat Riley. And he told me some of the things he did, and God loved Pat Riley. I love Pat Riley. I wish I knew him better because he got after pros. And now we're supposed to just hug and kiss everybody. You know what? Do your job right. Go to class, and you won't hear about not going to class.
Those are the words of Michigan State coach Tom Izzo, talking about accountability and tough coaching in response to a question from Outkick's own Dan Zakshesky, who is in D.C. And Dan went on to get the viewpoint on the matter of the man that Izzo's Michigan State Spartans will be facing on Friday night, Danny Hurley, the UConn head coach, echoing some of the words of Tom Izzo when talking about the subject of coaching players in a way that, well, gosh, might not be as lovey, touchy-feely as some people want our society to be in 2026.
I feel like I got a responsibility. You know, I coach 18, 19, 20-year-old men. There's a lot that I got to instill in them. There's a lot of discipline. There's a lot of accountability. There's a lot of commitment that I've got to instill in them to prepare them for the real world. The real world is tough. It's cruel. You got to be equipped. So on the flip side of how I'm driving them and pushing them to be the best that they can be and prepare them for life, I got a very close bond with my players. I love them. They know I love them. And a lot of our relationship that the media doesn't see or times that we spend, together laughing, joking, making fun of each other. You know, you don't see that part of me. You unfortunately just sometimes see the monster.
Couple of throwbacks. These two guys. Hurley's, of course, got 2 national championships. Izzo has one as well. And Tim, I got to ask you, I mean, I listened to not just these clips, but more of what the guys had to say in response to Dan Z's question. And, maybe this is me being an old guy, but I don't think that there's anything that should even be slightly controversial about the words of either man, because fundamental values are always going to be true. Culture shifts. There's been a shift through the years of how we should deal with our kids and discipline our kids. There's been a shift through the years in academics, for instance, where over 20 years I was a college professor, and I watched the model move more and more and more to the student as customer, and the customer is always right. Except we all know, oftentimes, the customer sucks. Anybody who's ever dealt with the public understands that. And when you enter a program and you have the privilege, I would argue, of being coached by a Tom Izzo or a Danny Hurley, you need to listen to what they have to say. And if they're correcting you to make you better. Tim, it hasn't been that long ago that people were talking about Brenda Freese, the head coach of the women's team at Maryland, also a national championship head coach, in the way that she was aggressively coaching her player. But when I look at these types of situations, all I see is good coaching.
Amen, Ricky. Amen. And I think that was Charles Barkley's point last week, which really sort of got this whole thing rolling, that, parents don't want to see their kids coached like that, then maybe the parents are the problem, not, not the coach. So Charles making comments, that a lot of people disagreed with, on the tournament show last week, basically saying, look, like Tom Izzo is good for basketball, is good for these kids. If you don't, you don't see that, then maybe you're the problem. Look, man, I give Chuck a lot of props for saying that. I give Dan Z a lot of props for asking the question, like, have we gone soft? I'm not sure a couple years ago you're asking that
We
question.
have.
Yeah, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure
We
the climate would.
absolutely have gone
Oh, we
soft.
totally have. But does the climate exist that you can ask that question? I'm really happy that it's to the forefront now. And look, I'll be honest, Herb Schreck, go down the list. There are any number of coaches who have just way chimed in and agreed, not only with Barkley and Dan Z, but Brenda Fries. Like, come on, people. Like, what are we talking here? This isn't Bobby Knight choking people or doing whatever, but I think Hurley said it best. These are 18 and 19-year-old kids. I owe it to them to coach them up. This is travel ball. This is all travel ball culture. Everybody gets a trophy, stuff that you and Ron talk about all the time. And having seen it a little bit firsthand with my daughter, like, look, man, I want some. Take good coaching. Yes, you're going to go to the workplace. Gary Schreier is going to say your show sucked, Tim. I'm kidding. Or things like that. Like, you got to be able to take it. You got to be able to take some direct feedback, and you got to maximize your potential. So look, I love that Izzo said that. I'll never forget what he did with Mateen Cleaves and that team back in the day. Just gritty ball players who maximize it. And I'll stop talking here. I think the best thing he said was, look, he went on. You're right. That's a great 5-minute clip. We could have played it. Encourage people to go find it. He talked about, I like to coach with my hands,
I would
and
recommend.
oh, it's phenomenal.
Check it out.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Italian. I talk with my hands. That's what I do. He said two things that really stood out to me. The kids know that I care, and it's about them. And I think what he said, and Hurley said the same thing. It seems just about every player has come back. The Michigan State alumni base is huge and active. I mean, Jamel Hill, who's a 4-letter word to some people, even she's on board with Izzo. Like, come on, people. Here's some smelling salt. It's sports. Let's go. These are young people. You should be coached hard. So I think you should coach us hard once in a while too, Ricky.
I don't know about. I'm a player's coach, but I don't. It's not Bob Knight. My grandfather was the biggest Kentucky fan that I knew growing up in a state full of them. And he would always say, like, I wouldn't want any son of mine to play for Bob Knight. Now, I get that. I get that. But Tom Izzo is not Bob Knight. And if Dan Dockich was here right now, guess what? I know for a fact he would be extolling the virtues of Bob Knight. And Dan played for him, and I didn't. So, the people that know best, at the end of the day, really, the best test that any coach is going to have at the end of the day is what his players think of him. The record, and do you have the respect and the admiration of your players? I don't know any coach has ever batted 1,000. Maybe John Wooden, maybe a handful of others. But Bob Knight's approval rating with his players, pretty high. Quite honestly, pretty high. Now, a guy like Izzo, I don't equate him to Bob Knight. In a past generation, Tom Izzo might have been looked at as nothing like a disciplinarian, but guess what? As society shifts, what at one time didn't seem to be a disciplinarian suddenly does, because we've lost so much of that, I would say, Tim. So anyway, I agree with Charles Barkley. Tom Izzo, every time I hear Tom Izzo speak, I find myself nodding in agreement. I think he's just a sensible guy. I would send any son of mine, if I had one, to go play for Tom Izzo, and I would consider him fortunate to be in that position. So it got me thinking about basketball coaches and who are the coaches that we like and what is it that we like about them. So I threw together my top 10 all-time favorite college basketball coaches, Tim. And there's my list. Jimmy Valvano at the top, just as he is there of that group of students. You can't see it entirely, but he's looming over the cheerleaders there. Jimmy V's my all-time favorite. I just loved his personality. The '83 North Carolina State team. Yeah, I've said many times the sense of humor. That's a big part of the reason that I appreciate Al McGuire. I don't remember Al McGuire's coaching era. He was already gone from Marquette by the time that my brain really started working as a sports fan. I remember him on NBC with Billy Packer and Dick Enberg. And I liked him. I've got Bob Knight on here because I always found Bob Knight compelling and entertaining. I don't think I would have wanted to play for Bob Knight, and Bob Knight probably would have broken me pretty quickly, knowing how he was and how I am, or I would have said, fuck you, and we would have been out of sorts with one another pretty much immediately. So I don't think I was Bob Knight's guy. I wasn't any of these guys, because I didn't have the fucking ability. But Denny Crum, a guy that I always thought was a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he would have liked me. Yeah. That was more my speed. He would say, "Hey, listen, go to wherever you buy drugs and ask the guy who the best local players are." And then I would have brought that information back, and they probably would have gotten a sack of money, and we would have won some games. So I've kind of got a mix of rogues here. Rick Pitino, I poke a lot of fun at him, but I mean, Kentucky coach and U of L coach. I've spent a lot of years watching Rick Pitino, and you look at what he's doing at St. John's right now. He's writing a pretty incredible final act. I assume this is the final act to his coaching career right now. So a lot of respect for him as a coach. Nolan Richardson's a guy that I really like. Izzo, as we mentioned, and Joe B. Hall gets a shout out because the first college basketball team that I really fell in love with was the '78 Kentucky national champions under Joe B. Hall.
I like it. I'm sure some people are going to have
that you like.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm sure some people are going to have to Google Joe B. Hall. Listen, I think Pitino, I forgot he was part of the Leitner game. And Pitino now talks very openly that even though they lost that game, he has crazy to say, he has amazing memories of that game, just on what a good game it was, the high level of play.
Well, we all have amazing memories of it. You want to hear my amazing memory of it? My amazing memory of it is he didn't put anybody on Grant Hill.
So he talked about that.
Pass.
And he told the two guys. He told the two guys not to foul Leitner. So he just did an interview. He did the interview with Grant Hill, believe it or not, for CBS. It was on a couple nights ago, and he told both defenders just to throw their hands up and not go near him. So he has a couple of do-overs.
That's what they did.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of regret.
Feldhouse and John Pelfrey standing there holding their dicks. Christian Leitner.
Yeah, so interesting. You don't have
state of Kentucky's heart.
Oh, big time. And I can't believe he's saying that openly now. But obviously, he's got his own checkered past there that maybe he's come to peace with a lot of things. I agree. If he takes this team to the Final Four, you can make the case it's one of the best. His body of work over how many decades with different teams is unrivaled. You don't have Coach K on there.
I don't. Because I'm from Kentucky and fuck Duke. And I don't have Dean Smith on there or Roy Williams either because fuck North Carolina.
So I know Ronnie's going to weigh in here. Real quick, from my list, it was hard for me not to admire Big John Thompson. Just Hoya paranoia.
Yep. Thompson was on my list.
Yeah, what they did, how they did it. I would say sweet spot, Louis Carnesecca. He was my John B. Hall, Ricky. He was sort of the first college coach I remember.
Joe B. Hall.
Joe B. Hall.
Give the man some respect.
Joe B. Hall.
He's the Rodney Dangerfield of this conversation.
Boeheim, like there's a whole list there, but I think it's hard not to admire Coach K and Big John. Ronnie, who do you got?
So John Thompson was the first one that I saw that wasn't on Ricky's list. And I'm going to stick because as we've talked before on the show and on the old podcast, Ricky, you know that aside from just being a Buckeye fan, I was a massive Big East fan. Just absolutely loved the Big East, as most people kind of our age did, regardless of where you lived in the country. If you were around during the 80s, the Big East was pretty badass. And so Raleigh Massimino, it was just the Big East.
PJ Carlissimo
Yep. Tim mentioned
back
him.
in that era as
Yeah.
well. Who was your, oh, yeah, sorry, Tim. Who was your favorite Big East team? I was a St. John's guy.
Georgetown. It wasn't even close.
Myself.
Georgetown. Oh, not even
Interesting,
close.
Ron.
Georgetown.
Interesting. Georgetown.
Yeah.
Oh, Tim.
I'd-
My favorite player, as much as I love Pat Ewing and Sleepy Floyd, dude, I love Michael Graham. Like,
Nice.
oh,
Nice.
Michael Graham was it.
Yeah, I grew to know him as Patrick Ewing from his Knicks days, Ron. But more importantly, like to me, I was a St. John's guy. Walter Berry, Willie Glass, go down the list.
Chris Mullin.
Yeah, my brother
Willie
lived in
Glass
Syracuse. He
reference.
was, he
Bill
was a big
Wennington.
Syracuse guy.
Shout
Bill
out.
Wennington. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Later on, Meta World Peace. But look, I hope St. John's, fuck Duke, I'm with you. I hope St. John's does it. But I'm now a full-blown UConn guy. Can't go home without them. When they're the only thing you have in our state, no pro teams, it's kind of what you go with. But Danny's wearing his welcome out, his sideline act. Izzo wasn't too thrilled. Said, boy, I admire him. He could be so animated and everything else. But let's go UConn.
There you go. Look at that. Just disappeared.
It's like a
Just
ghost. Yeah.
vaporized there for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You better hope that's not an omen for the game against Michigan State, Tim. Look, and again, it's not about having anything against Mike Krzyzewski other than that game that we just talked about, other than the fact that Duke was dominant for so long, and I just find the entire school to be rather douchey. But, nothing but respect for Coach K, Dean Smith, Roy Williams, all of those guys. But if you're from Kentucky, I took some of those losses personally.